Hello, my name is James Mulligan. I am a product manager within QuantumBlack. This is the second in a series of episodes where we will be discussing how we have approached the codification of our ways of working, how we have driven their adoption at scale across the organisation, and the benefits we are now ultimately reaping due to consistent ways of working on all our projects. In this second episode, we will be talking about our 5I framework, which is the way we articulate the end-to-end lifecycle of an advanced analytics engagement. In the last episode, we talked about protocols, which is the way that we approach codification of best practices for common questions or activities that might be performed on an advanced analytics engagement. But a protocol by itself, especially the one we described around understanding data landscapes, does not communicate the end-to-end lifecycle of an engagement. To do that, we created the 5I framework, which is a series of phases that communicates the journey from identifying an opportunity, a use case for analytics, all the way through to delivering its impact and sustaining its impact within an organization. Here you can see an overview of those phases. In ideation, we map the organization's value chain and identify high-value use cases for advanced analytics. During intelligence, we refine that opportunity by doing due diligence on the data and validating the value at stake. During inception, we translate the raw data sourced from the organization into business performance through feature engineering and modeling, and ultimately defining potential interventions for realizing that value within the organization. In the fourth phase, interventions, we deliver the necessary changes within an organization to capture the performance gains identified by our modeling insights during inception. That means operational change. It might mean technical delivery of an analytics solution. It might mean developing capabilities to operate that solution going forward. And then finally, during independence, we transfer the skills and technology, allowing the business to fully own the transformed analytics capability. And we also, in parallel, help them develop their own capabilities to deliver future use cases entirely by themselves. The 5I framework is designed to mitigate a risk that we have commonly seen in the past 10 years of delivering advanced analytics use cases for organizations. The risk of committing resource to a use case that may not actually deliver value for that business. Each phase has a stage gate to ensure that we've identified the value, estimated it within the data, quantified it with our modeling, realized it through an intervention, and then enabled the organization to sustain its value over time. For each phase, we've codified aims, objectives, and checklists to help the team steer their project and make sure that they're validating the necessary value to determine whether the use case is worth chasing. Within each phase, we've also added the protocols for specific activities that we feel like will be commonly executed within that phase. So how do we determine where each protocol that we've codified falls into each phase? Well, from historical experience, we know that teams are likely to identify analytics use cases during the first phase in ideation. We know that they're likely to start ingesting data within intelligence. We know that they're likely to start modeling insights during inception, and then potentially deploying that pipeline into a production environment during an intervention. There's also a strong possibility that they will be actively developing the capabilities of the organization so they can execute future use cases entirely by themselves. But the reality is every project is different. The location of these protocols within each phase is not prescriptive. We leave it to the teams to determine the scope of each project and where they feel like they should be executing these activities, deliverables, or workshops. It might be the case that ingestion of the data extends through into inception, or it might be that modeling insights actually starts in intelligence so they can create a simple model to validate the value at stake. Ultimately, we leave it to the teams to determine where these things should be executed, but we provide a framework and guidance on when they should think about them. A common question asked is, how does the 5I framework relate to other frameworks or methodologies within the industry that are popular or used by other teams? For example, the CRISP-DM framework, which has been used since the 90s, or Microsoft's team data science process. Well, ultimately, the advanced analytics workflow does not fundamentally change depending on which framework you use. The protocols we've created have been entirely bottom-up, understanding an organization's data landscape would fit into any of these frameworks. So the best practices are applicable regardless of which phasing is being used by an organization or a team. And for most organizations that are developing their own protocols and approach to advanced analytics, they're likely to choose phasing that reflects their own financial stage gates and the way that they want to govern projects within their organization. What we impress upon our teams is to ensure that they're thinking about the risk we discussed earlier in terms of committing resource and effort to a use case that might not deliver value to an organization. To reinforce that consideration on a project, many of our teams adopt what is commonly known as a product mindset. Since many, if not all, analytics solutions end up being deployed operationally into an organization, thinking about the project like a product will often help the team ensure its success. First and foremost, they should be considering whether the solution will deliver value, as we discussed earlier. Have we estimated and quantified that value? Will it fundamentally influence a performance metric that matters to the organization? Secondly, is it even feasible? Does the organization have the necessary data, both in quality and ongoing quantity? Is the analytical approach technically possible? Is there a feasible path to production for the team to deploy this solution? Thirdly, is the solution usable? Who will be the end users of this solution once it's deployed into the organization? Who will be interpreting and translating its output? Are we solving tangible pain points for these users to ensure they choose to use it? And finally, is the solution viable? Can the solution be operationalized into the organization's systems and overall strategy? Is the organization committed to its maintenance and ongoing support? In the next episode, we will be talking about how we drive adoption of these protocols as well as the 5i framework within QuantumBlack and the actions we've taken to ensure that happens at scale across our organization. Thank you very much.